How about a little simple trivia on our way to some rather sobering truth? I'm going to tell you what I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to tell you what I've told you in this journey this morning. And I'm going to tell you what I'm going to expect of you at the end of the journey. I talked to you some time ago about the altar, just made a reference to the altar, a little advice. One of my fellow students, when I was here, his dad gave him. He said, "Son, go to the altar when you need to go to the altar, but do not be going to the altar when you don't need to go to the altar, because it can create confusion in your life." The altar is a wonderful place. As our great Bishop Larry Smith says, it's not the place to do spiritual formation. It's not where you grow, but it is a place it's where moments of actualization occur, where things happen, commitments get made. It's that point outside ourselves we go and visibly, tangibly say yes and make a commitment. It's a place where we can be honest sometimes. And honesty is unbelievably the best route to spiritual development that I know of. You've got to be honest. So I'm going to share with you a very simple insight out of the life of Samson. Then I'm going to ask you to be honest. Now I'm going to ask you something that I haven't asked in this way in 16 years. I'm going to ask you individually to be honest. But some of you are dating. I want every dating couple to stand up. You just need a good look at these strange people on our campus. You're okay. You can sit back now. I'm going to ask our dating couples if they fit within this category to walk down as a couple when I ask for someone to come. I want you to walk down here, at least stand together. You'll see why in a moment. I want you to turn in your Bibles to Judges, an amazing, remarkable book in the Old Testament. There's some unbelievable statements that are made in the book of Judges. The statement that sort of closes the chapter on Israel, to me it sounds like clods of dirt being pitched on somebody's spiritual coffin. It said every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Total anarchy, total self-autonomy was going on. Couldn't have been a worse statement or a worse description. But in the book of Judges, there's an interesting person, little trivia here. Can you tell me what character I'm describing? An angel appeared to his mother. Some of you are quick. To announce a miraculous conception, to tell about a ministry of redemption. He performed a number of miraculous deeds. He laid down his life to avenge the great enemy. If I hadn't have zeroed in on the Old Testament, you might have even said Christ. But somebody got it right over here. Was it you, Caesar? Somebody. Some astute young man. It was Samson. Samson's this interesting fellow. He was born to aged parents. His mother had been barren, and she still remains nameless. His father's name was Manoah. Samson's name in the Hebrew means strong. He was a miracle baby, born to a woman who was barren. But God miraculously, an angel came and told him what was going to happen. And Samson was born. From his very birth, he was set apart as a Nazirite. He would be such from the womb to the day of his death, according to the word of the Lord. Set apart for God's service. And in that context, very interesting, God set Samson down right in the middle of a culture built around grapes and said, "You don't drink wine." God expects separation in our lives. He set him in the middle of a culture, had some fairly strict parameters about how you do your hair, and he said, "You don't cut your hair and you don't cut your beard. You don't have contact with dead bodies. and you do not eat any unclean food. Now, what do you remember about Samson? Very quick. Got a little feedback? What do you remember about Samson? Jawbone. Strength. Firebrand and the fox. Delilah. I knew that would come from the guy's side. Delilah. There's one thing that just overshadows Samson's life. God gives us little snippets of a person's life, and in a couple of chapters, we quickly move 20 years. You don't know you're moving that fast, but you are. And we get this synopsis of Samson's life. But what we forget is that Samson was really mightily used of God to judge Israel for 20 years. He had been successful on many counts. His exploits were amazing, tearing a lion apart with his bare hands, killing 30 men at Ashdod. Anybody who could catch 300 foxes and use them to tie their tails together and put a burning brand and set them loose in the fields and orchards of the Philistines. And then on that great occasion, someone mentioned slaughtering 1,000 men with the jawbone of a donkey. Wow. Rambo on steroids, without any doubt about it. But there's something interesting about Samson. I want you to go to chapter 13 with me. Everybody has a story. You do too. And in this opening chapter of his story, there's a picture painted that his life was marked by three distinct things. If you'll go to verse 5, you'll see this about Samson. For behold, the angel said, you shall conceive and bear a son, and no razor shall come upon his head. For the child shall be a Nazarite to God from the womb, and he shall begin to deliver out of the hand of the Philistines. Samson's life was marked by purpose. God had a plan. And there's not a single breathing soul sitting in this chapel that God doesn't have a plan for. Your life's marked by purpose. You're just on the beginning end, and it's a little hard to see. I hope I'm at the halfway point. I hope I live to be 110. But I'm down the road far enough to see how that purpose began to unfold and come together in my life. God had me marked for a purpose. As a sinner boy in high school, I was the president of our beta club or some kind of club, and I had to get up and speak, and somebody didn't show up, and so somebody just had to kill time. Somebody had to talk. Now, I know you think you get subjected to that on a regular basis, but somebody had to get up and talk. And so I got up and I just started talking. Now, I wasn't funny like Kent, but I got up and just started talking. After that service, as a center boy, and as I recall, I don't think the person made any profession of religion at all, but they came up to me and they said, you know what, I believe you're marked to be a preacher someday. I'm just amazed. Number one, I know God has a plan, but I'm amazed how he marks us sometimes for that plan. Samson was marked by divine purpose. Look at verse 7. And he said to me, behold, you shall conceive and bear a son. Now drink no more wine or similar drink, nor eat anything unclean. For the child shall be a Nazarene to God from the womb to the day of his death. Samson's life was to be marked by purity. Look at verse 25. Verse 25, 24 and 25. So the woman bore a son and called his name Samson, and the child grew, and the Lord blessed him. And the Spirit of the Lord began to move upon him at Mahanadan, between Zorah and Eshtaol. Samson's life was marked by power. No question about it. There was divine purpose before his birth. God said your life's to be a pure life, separated. In a culture of grapes, you're not going to touch wine. In a normal world situation, you're going to come out from among them and be separate. You're going to be distinctly marked by purity. And because of the purpose I've given you and the purity in your life, I'm going to mark you with power. You're going to do something for Israel. Now, can I ask you a question? Why in the world did Samson end up in a Philistine prison? His eyes poked out, being taunted by the guards. What in the world started him down this slope? What and why did his heart shift away from God to his own self-centered pursuits? What in the world did that happen? How did he get from point A to Z? How did he go there? Well, I'm talking to some people this morning who are in the process. You say, that's rather dramatic, Brother Avery. It may be, but it's true. I can tell you for certain why Samson started down a path of self-destruction. I can point with clarity to the subtle shift that sent him tumbling headlong and landed him in a Philistine prison. But I want to do something. I want to start at the end of his life and work backwards so you can see it more clearly. I want to show you the subtle signs of his heart shifting, this whole process. You got to remember, Samson doesn't even see these signs. He doesn't know these shifts are going on, but they're happening. They happen. Look at this scene. Samson lying on the lap of a Philistine harlot. A man marked for purpose and purity. He's given power, but he's lying in the lap of a Philistine harlot named Delilah. He's eaten her food. He drank her wine. He satisfied his lust. He exposed the sacred Nazirite vow. He was shorn of his strength. He awakened. He walks outside, shakes himself as always, but this time he fails. God's gone. There's no power in his life. One of the signs that a heart has shifted from God is the absence of spiritual power. It's the first indicator that the heart is moving away. And you never know it. It's the absence of that power to be pure, to do what you know you need to do, to stay focused, to stay on purpose. When that power is present, you can click on the internet, that awful advertisement comes up, you see it, you click away, you move on. When the power is absent, you don't have the power to move on. You hang around. One of the first signs that a heart is shifting away from God is the absence of spiritual power. The power of God had wrought extraordinary events in his life. But now he's weak and he can't stand before his enemies. I had a pastor from a distant state call me this week. He'd heard me preach a message at IHC, and he was quizzing me. He needed to know. And he said, I'm struggling in my own life. He said, I'm not sure I'm sanctified. I'm not sure I've got the spiritual power. And he said, you talked about that. What do you mean? And I used a little analogy that Larry Smith uses sometimes. Larry, who's quite a connoisseur of great preaching. And Larry hears a lot of preachers. And Larry has said this to me on more than one occasion. He said, I'm deeply troubled that I hear so many preachers preach that when they speak, and this is how he says it, he says, what they say lacks grip. There's nothing forceful, captivating, and gripping about it. It's part of the power. Our life has grip to it. Substance, power. But the second thing, Samson had lost his purity. The second and less visible sign that a heart has shifted away from God is the absence of spiritual purity. Samson started over the line when he went down to Timnah against his parents' counsel. He broke the vow with a taste of honey from the carcass of a lion, and he ended up in bed with Delilah. He had lost purity. But where I'm going with all of this is that Samson had lost purpose in his life. Do you remember I said he was marked by three things? Purpose, purity, and power. And when he suddenly realized that he was powerless, you can start tracing it back. He was powerless because he had lost his purity. But he had lost his purity because he had lost his purpose. The least visible sign that a heart has shifted from God is the absence of spiritual purpose. We've come just far enough in the semester for you to really get what I'm talking about. You roll in here, enthusiastic, call of God, ministry on your mind, ready to get into it, and then life just takes over. Most of life is just this everyday stuff of getting out of bed and doing what you do. That's what most of life is. Most of life isn't glamorous. Most of life is just putting one foot in front of the other and doing the right thing on a regular basis. But in a group like this, you roll in here, you see pretty girls for the first time in your life. That's intense. I know what I said. Prettiest girls in the world are right here on this campus. So if you've never been here, you've never seen pretty girls. You see handsome guys for the first time in your life. Well, maybe I better back up on that one. I don't want to stretch the truth. What I'm saying is, for the first time in your life, you're around hundreds of kids that love God, that look like you look, embrace your values, and all of a sudden, that becomes a distraction. All of a sudden, you find a girlfriend. That becomes a distraction. All of a sudden, you get engaged in relationships and fun and happiness and common, like the student commons and everything. And before you know it, you want to be cute, funny, cool, or whatever. And the purpose that you came with has begun to fade. I came here from Alabama, out of the wilds of Alabama. I could have been the poster boy for the Redneck Society, I guess. I didn't understand all this, but I'll tell you what I did have going for me. I had a thorough conversion. I loved God with all of my heart. I was dead serious about spiritual life. And I didn't give a hoot if anybody else on campus wasn't. I was. And so I got with it. My first year routine, I was up every morning at 4:30. Showered, shaved, an hour in devotions. I was at breakfast at 6 o'clock, back in my room by 6:30. I had a half hour just to prepare for my first period class at 7 o'clock. Now, my buddy down the hall, he was out of bed at about 5 minutes till or 3 minutes till 7. He'd hang his pants on a chair, a shirt on the chair that was unironed, wrinkled, just left them there from several days of wearing. His shoes were nearby somewhere. Sometimes he got on his socks, sometimes not. He would leap out of bed, totally startled, when the clock would go off at about 5 till, jump into his pants, put on his shirt. He didn't always get his hair combed. He had a terrible rooster tail in the back. And that would usually be standing up, waving as he came running down the hall. I was spit-shined, polished, ready to go, sitting in my seat, books open, ready to take notes, and he would come in and drop in the chair beside me with sort of a whew, like a sack of sand fell right by me and just kind of melt into the furniture. It was quite pathetic. He didn't get much out of college. He got married. He got a church. Been pastoring that same little church for about 30 years. They've gone from about 20 to 17. The point I'm making is you can lose your purpose. My second year as a sophomore, I rolled in here. That year I got elevated to we don't have that position anymore. Back then it was called the Assistant Dean of Men. They just you have RAs and a dean now, but the Assistant Dean of Men, maybe we have it this year. I don't know. Maybe Ryan's the new Assistant Dean of Men. I don't know. But it was a fairly significant position back then. It had as much weight as a dean would have. I could kick people out. I could make their life uncomfortable if I needed to. Had a little set of keys I wore on my belt right on my side. That was your authority, that little set of keys jingling. So I had that new job. I was bossing people around. I was making things happen. I got distracted. I wanted to be cool. Instead of being at class ready to open up my books and study, I remember sitting on the back seat of English literature between two girls who loved to talk. And I was going to be conversant with them. About 3 days of that, and the teacher who had known me from the year before just very gently walked up to me on campus, put her arm on I can remember the very spot out here by the old fish pond, in front of the girls' dorm. She put her hand up on my shoulder. She said, "Mike, I don't know what's wrong, but you're not the same guy." And just moved on. That's all she said. It's all that needed to be said. My heart was smitten. I knew immediately. I got alone. I told God what an absolute imbecile I'd been. And I put that course correction in my life. And I got back on target. I've already started to witness that in some of your lives. Some of you freshmen came in here with great zeal, but you've already got caught up in the fun, and you're beginning to do this. What's even more alarming is some of you sophomores and juniors. You're getting distracted, and you're picking up little attitudes, and things are happening. The most visible sign is you lose your spiritual power. You don't know it, but you do. And you start getting into some things like you don't even have the power to stop. And you lose your purity. Some of you have already crossed some lines you wish you hadn't crossed. Am I back? Is it because I'm backslidden, Brother Avery? Do I need another trip to the altar? Well, I'm not God, and I'm not going to play God, but I don't think so. What I think is, you're out of focus. You've lost your purpose. You've shifted. And you need to reshift. You don't have to throw away your faith. You don't have to do anything. If there's something to confess, you confess it. But what you need to do, you need to wake up and say, "Yep, I've shifted. Something inside has shifted." Your teachers see it in classrooms. It's almost sometimes so clear it could be written on your face. I want you to stand. What Sister Long did for me out there by the fountain with a little tap on the shoulder and a gentle word, I've tried to do collectively for all of us. And here's what I want you to do. I want you to get out of your seat, walk down. I don't want you to kneel. I want you to get out of your seat and walk down here. If there are some couples who've lost their way, I want you to find one another and get down here and just stand. We're going to have a closing prayer. You ready? Just come on right now. Come on and stand. All done? All done? I want our campus pastor to come. I want him to pray for us, that we keep ourselves focused. God brought some of you here so he could awaken you to spiritual realities and use you and call you. And you're just piddling and playing and wasting time. But God tapped you on the shoulder. He's faithful. Respond. Shift gears. Get back in focus.
We're glad you joined us. God's Bible School and College prepares students for lives of ministry wherever God calls them. This content is possible because of the generous support of friends like you. To support GBSC, visit giving.gbs.edu. Thank you.